So, I just want to talk about, I don't want to be a cheap bitch.
Agreed.
Like, I mean, I can be a bitch.
But we don't have to be cheap.
Exactly. Okay, but like on a serious note though, like really and truly, I don't understand how when you have a certain price point, people can look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, it's okay for me to ask to do a third of that pricing." What? What? And I can't even fault clients because they're looking around and they're seeing prices for our services, but like from different companies, price super low other places. And it's not exclusive to us. Like this happens
It's everywhere.
like everywhere.
It's a pop-up vendor pandemic.
Yeah. And it drives me crazy. And I think for myself personally, like I don't care. Like I know the temptation is there because sometimes you're like, oh my God, should I get more clients? But I'm like, honestly, at the end of the day, like I price accordingly because I need to be able to ensure that I staff properly. I can invest enough hours into your day and not burn out because I could price lesser, do the same work for less money,
Yeah.
and then I can't give you as much because it's
Yeah.
just not sustaining me. It's not sustaining like our team, nothing like that. So I don't want to be a cheap bitch.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. So, if you haven't already figured out, our episode is going to be about pricing. And I think that we should separate this out into like different categories.
Yeah.
So, like, and we can even like separate it out into like vendor categories, might be the easiest way to do it.
100%.
But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Hey You Studio because they are our recording location today. And of course, River City Events for hooking us up with this wicked set. We've got Matt Fossey Entertainment helping us with some of our equipment. And of course, the incomparable iFilm Media, who is our production team. So today's episode is about pricing, and I agree with Tamika. We're not cheap bitches here, okay? And I think that also needs to be separated out into two different things. Cheap as in price, like our services are priced accordingly, but also cheap as in I'm not going to suggest things that are going to cheapen your wedding.
100%.
And I think that all goes together because there are different, and also, I want to point out something else, that there are going to be different vendors who are priced differently and serve different demographics.
1000%.
And there is nothing wrong with that. Because if you want a hall wedding, you're not going to be hiring me.
Yeah, more than likely.
Okay. That's okay. And that's because a price for a hall wedding is going to be different than a price for a Fairmont wedding.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I think that that's important. I think that that's important to talk about and really point out that, like, that's okay.
Yep.
But there's a fine line between, okay, I'm going to hire this because this fits into what I want versus I'm going to hire this person because I'm being cheap.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a different level of experience, you're going to get a different level of service, and you're going to get a different level of going above and beyond depending on what, like, you're paying for.
Yeah.
And I think that while weddings are a luxury, and they are
100%.
to plan out a wedding is a luxury, I don't think that planners and coordinators are a luxury. I think that they should start to become mandatory.
1000%. The unfortunate part with that is a lot of people don't realize they should have had or needed a wedding coordinator until it's done. And like ideally, you're not getting married again unless you're going to do a vow renewal. But even still, we do those. But even still, it ends up being a situation of you learn a little too late.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas people look at it, they're like, we want to capture the day. You know, we need a media team. We need food. We need catering. We want music, right? And they don't want to plug and play, so they hire a DJ. Obviously, you need a venue to get married in. So certain things people are like, you just need it because you have to have it. But this is not a toot my own horn. It's quite literally, you need a coordinator.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you are literally thrusting the role and responsibilities of what would be a coordinator onto other vendors anyways without knowing it.
Or your family and friends. And now they are no longer able to come and enjoy your event, which is a whole other thing, but still a part of this.
Yep. That reminds me, which could be a topic for another day, wedding assistants, I think, were becoming a thing.
What
Where,
do you mean?
oh,
Like
so
you're gonna have a wedding assistant? I'm gonna have a wedding assistant?
no, I think it's either called wedding assistant or something like a bridal assistant, but essentially you get the honor of being requested to be that assistant for the bride who handles receiving the vendors, who handles coordinating, basically being a wedding coordinator, but you're not getting paid. You don't get to wear the dress and you have to do all the work. And they've given it, yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. It was blowing up on TikTok. People are like, you don't need a wedding coordinator to do this. It's like, that's free labor to somebody that
I'm
you
not
care
on
about.
TikTok.
Oh.
Don't come for me.
I'm not on it, but like I saw it, I clicked on it, my TikTok app opened. I think I follow 13 people on there.
That's
So
right.
I'm not actually on it, but I have an account to view random shit.
Gotcha.
So I did see this and I was like, okay, so you care about that person so much. You love them so much that you're going to ask them to do all the work for free all day long. They don't get to wear the dress. They don't get to be in the photos because they're coordinating everything. They're not trained to do it, and all the responsibility, stress, and anxiety is on them. Okay, anyways, like I said, whole different episode. We can go into that. Wow. Yeah. It's a thing, and it blew my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is an honest Sheena reaction to that one.
I'm like,
I know. And this is what we're competing with in our scope, where people are trying to get friends and family to do it for free by making it an honorary assignment, by turning around and saying we don't need it, by forcing these roles like timelines or managing when food's going to come out or when you're going to do speeches and all that on your DJs, on your friends and family, on your photographer or videographer. Like all of those things now are being divided up with them. Or again, like I said, on the bridal assistant or whatever it's called. I will find it. We will do a segment on it, but I forget the actual term. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's a lot to process. So a lot of people will do anything except admit the fact you need a fucking coordinator. You're literally making friends and family do it. So it comes down to what level of coordination do you need? And that goes back to what you were saying in the price point. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, because you're paying for a Fairmont wedding, you need to pay Fairmont prices for a coordinator. No, usually if you're doing a Fairmont wedding, it's because you want some wow fucking shit. You have multiple things moving. You have to do flips in a specific amount of time. Some people don't know this. If you're setting up at the Fairmont, you're in the same fucking day, you're out the same fucking night.
Yeah.
Some decorators, you can't do that. You can't expect your friends and family to come the same day and be there at 3 o'clock in the morning striking down for you. Those are certain things you would have done, let's say at, like you said, a hall wedding or at other more cost-effective venues where like, yeah, sure, you can use it for the weekend or whatever. Not to say venues that allow you to strike the day before and after are all cheaper, but it's more likely at venues.
Well, and that's
like
a different price structure though too, right?
That is a
I just
different
want to make
price
sure I'm not
structure.
flashing everybody. That's a different price structure though too, because chances are that if you are, as I'm like fixing myself here, if you are going with a venue where you are able to be there for the whole weekend, that's going to be priced differently.
Completely.
And it's also going to be a different vibe too, right? It's probably going to be a little bit more relaxed in a sense.
Like
we're not
retreat vibes.
necessarily right. We're not necessarily having a black tie event here. There's not necessarily going to be a dress code unless it's like bring your cutoffs for later because we're going to have a party, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, I have one of those coming up, and I am not gonna lie, I'm excited for that. But like, I think that when we talk about structure of how things are priced, we need to talk about the specifics of why they are priced the way that they're priced, right? And that's also going to carry over. So like you used an example of a venue who you have everything, it's a one-day thing. You are in at 7 a.m. to start setup. Everything has to be out by 3 a.m. Guests are out by midnight, 1 a.m. usually in that sense. So any vendors that are coming in, they're doing everything in the same day. Anybody who is bringing in decor, we're doing it all in the same day. And for those of you who don't know, I think that something we should talk about, and this again goes into pricing, is how long it takes to set everything up. Like most.
We need to talk about chairs.
Oh, fuck chairs.
We need to talk about chairs because there's a huge misconception around chairs.
Okay, let me talk about this first.
Yes.
So for example, a DJ setup. Most DJs that we work with need an hour. And that means that they're going to have their full setup in the ceremony space, in the reception space. And then they're going to have a little mobile setup in the ceremony space as long as it's not outside. Also, most DJ or entertainment companies, they have a sound crew and a setup crew that they're actually sending in prior, unless, you're Jordan Helm from NyQuest. Love you, Jordan, who prefers to set up for all of his DJs. And I mean, we love you for it, Jordan. We love you for it. But again, it takes Jordan about an hour to set everything up. And then Strike on top of that's 45 minutes at the end of the night. So those are things that need to be taken into consideration too. And if DJs and entertainment companies are pricing themselves accordingly, they're putting that information into there, right? Like that's factored into the price point. Now, when you get to a decorator standpoint, and whether it's somebody like us who are potentially setting up rentals, or you have a company like Edge of Elegance with Alla, she's coming in and that she has already factored in those price points of like, how long is it going to take Mo to set up a flower wall, right? Or are we doing like a big, gorgeous table runner? Like, what does that look like? But she's already factored that into her pricing, right? 100%. So then you look at what we are doing and how we're taking on a setup and strike role with the team that we bring in.
And that's one thing I'm going to interrupt you on.
And that's when chairs come into it.
1,000%. But with Edge of Elegance, like she is a luxury.
100%.
Right? And like, so they will do floor wraps, backdrops, flower walls. They will have stage wraps, like you name it, right? And it's gorgeous. But you need to be able to know how to work with them as well too.
Agreed.
Because sometimes you can have your setup running concurrent with them, like alongside with them, and you have to know how to be able to navigate that as well too.
Yeah.
And that comes from obviously experience, but you have to have your own team. Like sometimes they can only lay down certain things or put certain centerpieces down. Like for instance, I'm going to use myself as an example. I was working with Edge of Elegance at the end of June. We had extensive floral installs. We had our own decor that we had to lay down as well too. And then Edge of Elegance had to come in, do a floor wrap, do a stage wrap, a table wrap, all of that.
And so you had a florist come in too.
Yeah, the florist was there as well.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure everything was being timed and happening in conjunction with where it needed to happen.
Yeah.
This wasn't you could just do it later, or oh, you're a man down. Like it doesn't fucking matter if you're a man down.
Yeah.
You haul ass and make it happen.
Yeah.
So my whole point is here, like that doesn't come from lack of expertise or pop-up shop decorators or florists even, and of course wedding planners and coordinators. You need to be able to say, hey, I can work with you, you can work with me, what do you need, and we can work well together.
Totally.
Right? And then go back and do that shit again either later that night when you're striking down or at another event or another wedding, like another weekend. So that's really what's going to differentiate you from what category you're in. But like Sheena was saying about chairs is a huge misconception.
Fucking hate
with
chairs.
people.
Anything that has to do with chairs.
Anything that has to do with
chair
chairs.
ties. I hate chair covers. I hate moving chairs. I hate when chairs are ugly. I hate when they're pretty because they have to move. But let me also say, will we do chairs for you? Fuck yes.
Yes, we will.
And
it'll be fucking amazing. But chairs are time consuming. People are like, oh, it's just a chair. They are so time consuming. And any company that says to you, oh, we'll do the chairs for free.
Fuck that.
Fuck that shit. Fuck that noise. They don't know what they're fucking doing, or they're charging you an obscene amount of money. So of course the chairs are included, or they haven't been around long enough to fully understand that. And I really want to emphasize that because every single couple that I've had that has turned around and said, we will just set up the chairs by ourselves, either halfway through they regret it, or they literally call and say, can you come take over, or can you do the strike down with the chairs afterwards? Because every single chair will take at least 1 minute to do. You have 150. That's 150 minutes of setting up chairs. Really take that in and think about that.
That's just the physical chair.
Yeah.
That's not even putting a tie on the chair. And don't let TikTok and any sort of reels fool you. That shit's sped up.
Yeah, every single time.
No way you're tying a chair ribbon that fucking fast and it looking that perfect.
It's not happening.
No way. Also, chair covers. I hate chair covers. And it's not because of the time. Well, it is because of the time. It's also because they do not all look uniform.
They don't.
And you only can have one person tying them.
Yeah.
With anything. And this goes for napkins too. But anytime that you're doing something with design where you want everything to look uniform, only one person can do it. Because even if you're following the same technique, your hands are different sizes, your left or your right hand is dominant, it's not the same, it's not going to look the same. So the uniformity isn't going to be there.
It's not going to be there. And chances are, if you're hiring a decorator or buying or spending money on renting chair covers, chair ties, you want a certain look.
You do. 100%. You saw a Pinterest photo and you want that replicated.
Exactly. You're not going to want something that looks janky and fucked up. You're just not going to want that. So, I mean, like, it just comes down to, again, are you hiring in your right price bracket? Because somebody who's done this knows this. They're not going to turn around and say to you, oh no, we're charging you extra just to pocket the money, because you have to pay for that labor.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just the labor that's
and we also
beyond.
have to make sure that we can make it happen in the time that we have. So like if there's a venue restriction, like you mentioned earlier, we have to make sure that we have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Or if, like you mentioned earlier, if there's a flip, that's a totally other thing. So like we charge our clients for straight up setup and strike. So that is going to include all of your basics. So what is a basic? For us, a basic is we're putting your linens on the table. We're putting a charger plate down. You may have your dinner plate on the table. We're putting down a napkin. We're putting down your flatware cutlery. We're putting down a menu. We may be putting down a name card. We're putting your centerpieces down, whether that be one floral arrangement that's being put down or 3 candles, a floral arrangement, and a table number. Those are all considered our basics. We're also going to do your welcome table for free, and we're going to set up your ceremony decor. So let me be specific about that. Your welcome sign, if you have any extras like parasols, fans, menus like that are going on your chairs, your reserve signs. I'm not talking about moving furniture. I'm not talking about setting
like
up
simple
arches,
drapery type of simple
backdrops. Like those things are extras because they take extra time. Those are things that we may have to bring in another team for. And I think that is where price transparency is so very important, to have 100%. A breakdown of what that looks like. And I think that vendor wise, our category of vendor definitely needs to be way more transparent in terms of how we are pricing things, the way we are pricing things, whereas a photographer doesn't have as many moving parts.
No.
In terms of the services that they're providing. And like, I mean, that could change depending if you are like a photographer who's providing those basics. So for a photographer, that would be obviously pre-planning your day. There's some timeline work in there. And then of course the actual day. And then we have all of the time that they're putting in afterwards. So they better be charging for their time, because editing is no walk in the park. That takes forever. Especially if they have a certain editing style too, right? And then there's some photographers who will add on that, you know, maybe we'll have an engagement shoot like before, right? So they're going to price accordingly for that. Or maybe they are going to provide you with a canvas or a photo book. Like these things are things that I believe as vendors we really need to start breaking down so that the client is able to understand why we are pricing things the way that we're priced. And specifically for us, like I already have a problem with where like I'm priced, because I already know that I'm going above and beyond that. Like if I were to break down at an hourly rate of what I'm charging you, shit, you're getting the biggest fucking discount ever, because to plan a wedding, it's going to take you over 600 hours. And if I were to charge you at my hourly rate, which is $225, that's way over what I'm actually charging for a wedding.
Yeah, it is. It is. And a lot of people look at it like, oh, well, that's another thing I wanted to talk about pricing. Why are you $225 an hour? It's very simple. Because I had to make a lot of fucking mistakes to figure out how to do something in an hour that would take you maybe a fucking week. I'm not even shitting you.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? You're not paying for the hour. You're paying for all of the things that I can get done
in that hour. Yeah. And that's the difference, because we're saving you the time, the stress, and the effort of having to go through trial and error and having to figure out, okay, this was a mistake. I didn't do this properly.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at that, you really need to say, okay, it's not just, hey, this person, I have them for an hour to do what I want. It's they're accomplishing so much in that time, whether it be them, their team, because me and Sheena operate the same way. We both always have an assistant.
Always.
Always, whatever our plan is, you're not charged extra for that. That's calculated into our rate. So our assistant is going to be there. Our assistant is going to be brainstorming with us. Our assistant is going to be part of the planning process. So their time needs to be counted into that as well. So when you're like, well, why is your hourly that much? That's why. And also keep in mind, you have things like insurance and like, it's a whole thing.
That's something else that we can talk about too. Like, why is somebody priced the way that they are? First things first, though, when you're interviewing your vendors, these are things that you should be asking for.
100%.
Do you have insurance? What is that insurance? Like, most vendors should have a $2 million liability insurance, and that covers them, and it covers anything that happens at your wedding that directly is from them. But also things like, do they have a website? Are they paying for a website? Are they paying for a business license? Are they registered with whatever province or state they're in? Oh, look at me, state. Maybe we'll have
You'll be there, don't worry.
Other countries tuning in with us. But like, it's important.
And another thing that you missed, being accredited somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, what type of schooling or training have you had?
And especially if that's possible too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and in Canada, it definitely is.
It is.
They're like, I know in the States it's a little bit different, but in Canada, 100%. We have several reputable places that you can get your accreditation from. If somebody cannot show you that, or if it's not good enough in other local vendors with other local vendors or venues, then that should be a red flag right there. But if someone's like, oh, well, I don't have it, are they at least working on it? Are they enrolled in something? And it doesn't mean that, hey, you can't get real life lived experience. But what it means is they're getting that foundation to figure out how best they can work with you.
100%.
And especially because, as I've mentioned before, there's no barrier to entry in this field. The least they can do as a fucking coordinator or planner is like a little goddamn initiative to figure out something to be like, okay, what legally can I do? What should I be doing? What is an acceptable practice? Because not every scenario that we run through in our training necessarily happens. There are many scenarios that have happened that were not part of the training that we had
training at all.
Not at all, and we had to figure it out. But at least they've got something instead of like, we'll just figure it out. Like, no.
I know, right?
And then once a lot of these places where you have your training, it doesn't end there.
No.
There's a network.
So many more courses.
There's more courses. There's a network. You can
Yeah.
stay in touch with people who have been in the business for 15, 20, 30 years. It's a community, which means you now have access to resources to be the best possible version of yourself as a coordinator as possible. So for me, when I sit here, I'm not just saying toot your horn and be like, only get accredited people. I mean, like, no, get people who give a shit about their own fucking business to invest in themselves. If you can't invest in you, why the fuck should your client?
I agree.
Like, I don't get, like, how does that make any sense?
No, I agree with you. And I think something to point out too is like you had said as well, like experience within the business. So like you and I are coming in, this is our third wedding season, and like we have amazing women out there running their own planning and coordination businesses like Joy with Joelle and Sandra Bettina. And like Sandra Bettina is totally accredited within some of the institutions that we were talking about, but I actually don't know if Joelle is. But would that stop me from hiring her to plan my own wedding? Fuck no. Like this woman has so much experience, not just within the industry, but with people management and her business background and those types of things too. And I think
I do think she invested in herself.
100% she did. But what I'm saying is the people who have been around for a while, I don't know that I would necessarily hold them to the same standard of the people who are just entering the business.
I mean,
And
I do.
This is why. Because they've already been through it. They've already got the decade under their belt.
But that's still investing in themselves.
Oh, I agree.
Right?
But I think that saying like prove to me that you have this accreditation. Well, what if she doesn't, but she's already been in the industry for like 15 plus years.
I think that's different
that's
too,
where
because
it changes.
we
right?
didn't really have the same access to accreditation as before.
Agreed.
So you are correct in that regard, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
if they were around 15, 20 years, of course, like it's not going to be the same thing, because it's like, bitch, why the fuck do I need to go and get this done?
Agreed.
I've already done so much work. I've
Yeah.
been here when trends were, I've made the trends,
Yeah.
right? So like that I get, but I'm talking about people who it's like they haven't invested in themselves yet. So like you're still coming into the industry, and let's be real, like the wedding industry is booming. Everybody is trying to be a
Everybody
coordinator.
wants to be in
Everybody
the
is trying to do it.
yeah.
People are switching gears from so many different things. Like, I'm going to be a wedding coordinator. And it's like, okay, great for you.
Oh
but
my
they
God.
have
Do you
no
know what
idea.
drives me nuts?
What?
We talked about this. I don't know if it was earlier or if it was last episode or whatever, but staying in your own lane. Here's the thing that drives me a little bit crazy, and I've seen this with a couple people. But if you're gonna be a photographer, stay in your lane. Like, and I'm not a photographer, so like, don't come at me, because like I could be getting this wrong. But like, I mean, if you're gonna be a photographer and then you decide, hey, maybe I want to dabble in videography, to me, that's still in the same realm.
It is.
But if you're going to be a photographer and then all of a sudden you decide to be a planner, that shit's different.
1,000%
It is
different. It's
different.
not the same
And I just
thing.
feel like,
And how can you say, I'm going to be fully engrossed in the moment to capture your moment, but still be planning the day? Somebody needs like, oh no, let's say your rental company sent the wrong linens. So you're going to be
that's the other thing too that I was going to say too. If you're a planning and coordination company, and I can say this because we tried to do this and it just did not work, I don't think that you should also be doing rentals.
Yeah, no, we did that. Trial and error. We know, we're speaking
We did
from
that.
experience.
Rentals is a beast by itself. Like, that is a whole thing.
Which also
by
goes to me,
itself.
or goes to another thing of, you can't be a decorator and a planner, in my opinion. I don't think you can do both.
I think you can be a designer.
You could be a designer. I'm talking about a decorator who comes in and literally puts everything up and sets it up. And I bring this up because of my husband's sister's wedding. And they had a decorator who was also the planner. And when we got there was no details. We were supposed to be there for the henna night. They didn't know when it started. We didn't know what it was. There was supposed to be a whole separate day for family photos. We completely missed that. And I don't mean just us. I mean all of the family members, because nobody knew, because nobody even knew who the planner was, where they were. I don't even think I saw the planner at the wedding the entire time.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, how are you a planner and a decorator? So me, I had offered my sister-in-law and said, I'll do it for free. She thought she was good. No fault of her own, because she's like, oh, I have a decorator and a planner doing this. But they weren't.
Yeah.
They just weren't. And this kind of falls into the caveat of stay in your fucking lane. Okay? Like, it might sound nice to say I'm a designer and a planner. You can be both, but you can't be both at the same time.
Decorator and planner.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said designer?
Sorry, you can't be a designer and a planner. It's fine. But no, decorator and a planner, because like
agree.
you need to be focusing on different things, right? You want to be a master of everything, but like, or sorry, a jack of all trades, but a master of none? Like, that's not going to work. Like, you're going to spread yourself way too thin.
I agree.
Way too thin.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then it comes into like, how am I going to price this? And how am I going to price that? And like all of those things. And like to also, I just want to say that most people are not pricing themselves accordingly because they are worried that they are overpricing themselves. And I think that that's also something that we should be addressing, because I can't even tell you how many photographers that I have talked to that are not pricing themselves the way that they
100%.
should. And same with videographers. Like, boggles my mind. Like, and also like the wheel of how you should be splitting your money in regards to who's going to be priced for what. Like, and this goes back to like, what style of wedding are you doing, and how much should you be paying for that venue, and how much should you be paying for your coordinator or your planner? Like, on average, most planners are going to, and this is somebody who's planning your wedding, not necessarily coordinating. Those are two different things. But somebody who's planning your wedding, they should be in between 10 to 15% of your budget. And if your budget of your wedding is over $100K, guess what? They're going to be taking a percentage. There's not going to be a flat rate there, because once you get over that $100K mark, shit's so flexible.
It is so flexible.
So flexible. And so that usually is going to change how much work that planner is doing. Now, when it comes to coordination, I would say on average, your coordinator is going to be anywhere between 5 to 10% of your wedding budget. So most planners aren't actually pricing themselves where they should be. And the planners who are just coming into this industry, whether we want to call them a pop-up or somebody who's just brand new and they really just don't know what they should be coming in with, which, hey, been there, done that, could write a book, probably should write a book. I think that it's important that you really sit down and you look at what you're doing, because if you're not pricing yourself accordingly, and Tamika, you said this earlier, you're going to burn out.
100%.
You are going to burn out. And I think that it really comes down to just making sure that both whoever is in the industry, but also the clients who are shopping around, you really understand that while the wedding is a luxury, you do need to pay accordingly for the services that you are hiring people for.
Yep.
And I guarantee you that, at least in the Edmonton area, from what I've, the sleuthing that I have done for pricing and who we've spoken with and who we've had our little gatherings and everything with, majority of us who know what we're doing, regardless of how long we've been in this specific industry, majority of us are priced around the same price range.
Yep.
Give or take $200 to $500. And that comes down to experience and the type of clientele that planner is specifically working with.
100%.
Champagne and Roses, we definitely started out with, we are going to do those barn weddings and we are going to do those hall weddings, and we're getting our toes wet and we're figuring out where do we want to be, because I definitely knew at one point I wanted to be a luxury planner, but I sure as shit knew that coming into this, that I wasn't starting with a $100K wedding.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So, and then now over the past 3 seasons, now we're moving into where 25% of our clientele this season, they were 100K plus weddings. Yeah. And we're booking into next season, and we're not booking people who are less than 70K, because that's where we have transitioned into, but that's also where we want to be.
Yeah.
And that's what we're in love with.
And I think that kind of gives us a little bit more creative freedom as well, too.
Totally.
And we can do things knowing that we can make decisions to make the client happy and really have their vision come to life. And it's more about the experience.
Agreed.
And creating the memory in the experience and the emotion in the experience behind it for these couples. Whereas before we were starting out, we're yeah, sure, we can execute the job.
Yeah.
We can execute the task
Yeah.
to make sure it's done. And they were still beautiful, mind you,
gorgeous.
in their own right.
Gorgeous.
But this is just a completely different, this is a different vibe completely.
100%.
Which comes down to where do you want to be priced? So you can price lesser, but you cannot expect to have a $50,000, $70,000, $80,000 wedding and hire a $500,000 day of coordinator.
No.
It's not happening.
No.
You can, but let me tell you something.
But
it's out of their scope. No, but it's out of their scope.
Yeah.
And it's not to say they won't do it, but will they do a good job? Will it be something that they did, or now is your other vendor team picking up their slack? Because everyone else, it's funny, if you have weddings that are like that, chances are you're paying accordingly for your photographer, videographer, your venue, your decor, all of those things, food and all of that. So now everyone is used to operating at a certain standard, except your coordinator. It doesn't make sense.
Agreed.
And it's also, think of it like having insurance. Why would you cheap out on that? Be I have something that I care deeply about, but I'm going to put the minimal coverage on it, so if something happens, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that, right?
Yeah,
so
agree.
Again, it's not to say that everyone shouldn't have access to a coordinator, but if you know that you're pricing yourself a certain way, your clientele should be where you're pricing yourself. Yeah. And if you have a wedding that has certain expectations, right? You should be looking for a coordinator that can meet those expectations.
Agreed.
2 years ago, there's no fucking way I would have turned around and been confident enough to be able to handle $150,000, $200,000 wedding.
No, me neither.
I
definitely would have, there would have been some serious imposter syndrome happening. And I don't think that, like you said, I wouldn't feel confident because of, not because I didn't think that I could do it.
I know I could do it, but definitely.
But just the experience behind it. There's a different level. And honestly, this could also be tied over into a different vendor category of florists. This drives me nuts. when people are like, well, I'll just do it myself. I'll order from Costco. Babe, no. Don't do it. Because guess what? I'm the one who ends up turning into a florist. And then I'm calling Mary. Mary, I love you. Thank you so very much.
You're the best.
Then I'm calling Mary and being like, how do I do this? And how do I do this? And for those of you who don't know, Mary owns Mare Luxury Floral. She's a freelance florist who used to own Funky Petals on the North End. Funky Petals, pronounce that. And now she freelances and she has her own luxury floral company. And you also look at people like Morgan, who owns Petal for Your Thoughts. Like, these women are so talented in what they do, and they charge accordingly.
Yeah.
Because do you know how long it takes to flex a rose perfectly?
Unfortunately, I do. Unfortunately.
Like, and how to do it properly without fucking up the petals.
That was
and then
also because Mary taught me.
Right? And then also
Thank you,
like,
Mary.
okay, like this floral needs to be processed this way. Hold on, I didn't turn my phone off. I'm just gonna like this floral needs to be processed this way. Or did you know that you should actually be cutting your stem at an angle and you should be cutting it underwater and then it has to process in this liquid? Like, when you're getting things from Costco, I mean, if you just want to throw something on a table, cool. I'm not going to be working with you anyways because that's not the type of planner that I am anymore. I've kind of graduated out of that phase, and that's cool. There's nothing against that. But I think we really need to start respecting why things are priced the way that they're priced. And it's not just because, oh, there's a certain standard within that vendor category. It has to do with how much time and work goes into that.
Yep.
And most florists, some of them are pre-building things. So they're pre-building in a studio, things are temperature controlled, then they're going back into a cooler, and then they're transporting things.
Are also building on site.
And some are building on site. And I think that that's something else that just really needs to be put into perspective, that silk florals, depending on where you're getting them from, they're not going to look the same. And if you are getting them from somewhere reputable, they're going to be the same price as a live floral.
And no,
anyways.
Temu is not the same thing.
It's not.
It's not.
And I just think that that's like, shout out to florists, because I've tried to do what you do and I cannot.
Yeah. No, like it's a hard fucking job. You're literally creating an art installation with a live medium.
Yes.
Like, just take that in. It's a living organism, and you are creating an art installation so it can look beautiful for hours.
Well, and then there's different parts to that too, right? Like, you think of Nicola from Twin Floral Studio. She also does a lot of environmentally friendly. So, like, she doesn't necessarily use the foam cubes that you put florals into that nobody sees because your installation's already finished and you don't actually see what they're standing in. She actually uses different methods, which coincidentally are now going to take a little bit longer because it's a different way that she has to make sure that everything's stable, right?
Yeah.
So I just like, it's something that I am so passionate about and angers me when somebody questions the pricing on, I mean, really anybody in the industry.
Because
food's the same way.
It's one of those things of, I understand you're getting married and like, congratulations, that's amazing. It's a milestone and it can be expensive. But like, another coordinator that I follow as well said the same thing. Marriages are a right. Weddings are a luxury.
100%.
And so you're going to turn around and decide you want this luxury. And I think everyone has a right to decide what they want. But then you're going to try and dictate what somebody's worth is.
Yeah.
What somebody's knowledge and experience is worth. And honey, if you know how to do it, you would have done it yourself.
Yeah.
So how are you going to turn around and say that somebody else is worth less because it fits your budget? I think maybe your expectations don't fit your budget. And that's what it is. And I mean, that's just me being really real.
Well, and to add to that too, I think that the propaganda within the wedding industry is to blame for this, because most people who are going through Pinterest, you're not seeing $50,000 weddings. You're seeing $100,000 to $200,000 weddings. Like, I saw a reel the other day and it really like brought me back to like 13, 14 years old when Twilight was like a thing. Florals hanging from the ceiling. Listen, that the florals themselves were easily $70K because hanging shit and like all of those things
and the people you need to install it and the time.
And
oh
like,
my God.
That's just, I think it's just something else that like, the transparency within the industry needs to improve, because you don't know what you don't know as a client coming in who's never been married before.
And that's completely fair. But I also think that when a professional, and this isn't anything, not even just weddings, when a professional in their field that you have no idea about, like nothing about, is telling you this is the price, if you don't have any training or expertise in that, why are you questioning it? If you go to a lawyer and they say this is the price, you'll accept that. It doesn't matter if they're like a janky lawyer that's just like doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, right? You're just like, all right, cool, the price is the price, right? Like, so what is the difference? It's just societal perception, in my opinion, that kind of forces it, where it's like, don't worry, you could do it yourself. Well, guess what? You can represent yourself in court by yourself too. It still doesn't mean
you're going to jail.
I mean, there's that too, but it doesn't mean you're questioning the price. So I think that if you are on a budget, that's okay. Work within your budget.
And I just want to say, budget isn't a bad word.
It's not.
Budget is what's going to keep you on track. And a good planner, when they're actually planning your wedding, not just coordinating, but planning. They're going to keep you on track. In most cases, they're going to save you money, and they're also going to save you time.
100%.
So, like, and also to add to that, I personally don't think that it's a bad thing if you are sticker shocked. Okay, if you are like, holy shit, I did not think that was going to be that much. I don't think it's out of the realm of respect to ask for a breakdown of why.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that that's also something that needs to...
Sorry, that just triggered me.
I know. But I think that that's also something that, like, we should talk about, because I think that it's...
I need to say this right now. As a vendor, you have a responsibility to break down why your costs, like, not why, what your costs are. Yes. You need to tell your clients, if they're asking, okay, like, this is the price, what am I paying for?
Yes.
You have a duty. Actually, you have a legal obligation, especially here in Alberta as well, too. And I'm pretty sure everywhere in Canada.
That's my contract queen, so she knows these things.
But you have a legal obligation to literally break down what someone is paying for. Yes. You can't just say, like, I'm a designer, or I'm a decorator, or I'm a photographer, or what the fuck ever, and say this is my cost. And if they ask, be like, oh, it's just for what I do. That's not how it works. No. And you can't do that. And I'm passionate about this because I had an incident. I had an incident.
Those are 2023 incidents.
With a decorator who actually did just that. Yeah. And when questioned, and this is again where communication and transparency, full circle moment, come into play, because the client thought she was getting one thing. The decorator was like, no, we're doing a different thing. And then I'm in the middle like, that's not what's happening. We're not matching. So let's all have a conversation and let me get an email together confirming these details. Yeah. Which then led to a shitstorm, which then led to the client saying, I need a full break. Actually, I think I said I need a full breakdown for the client, and which she did, and it was still extremely vague. And she got very upset. She got upset that she had to provide a breakdown, and that comes to
because she was scamming.
1000%, she definitely was scamming,
and that's another thing.
But either which way, this is why it's important to understand what your budget is. Ask the right questions. Ask what you're paying for, because it's okay to say, you know what, are you open to not providing me this part of the service and just this, and then I pay you for that? And some people are okay with it. Some people, like I know for myself and Sheena, like we're just not able to take certain things out because we know that we have systems and processes in place that ensure your day goes smoothly. So this is kind of the best we can do, which is why we have certain packages a certain way. But we're okay with explaining that, right?
And zero issue.
Yeah, there's no issue with that. And then other people, if they're asking you a question, questions aren't a bad thing. No. Question means your client is interested and wants to make something work, but you just need to explain it to them because they don't know your business. Yep. And if you're unable to explain, you got to dig deep, because chances are you're doing something wrong.
Yes.
So again, I'm not going to tell you how much you should charge for your hourly, but if you have a tangible item, you should be able to say, this is what my items cost. Yeah. You can't just say, oh, you're just paying for everything. Yeah. And it'll just show up when it shows up.
And I think, too, like that's something, like if you are somebody who's planning your wedding, who's watching this, I think that this is something that you might want to pause and rewind and listen to again, because this is a great way to spot a scammer. within this industry. And unfortunately, they are not few and far between. Like the amount of people, and Tamika, you said this before, there's no qualification to enter the industry. If somebody wants to be a part of the wedding industry, they pop up shop and away we go. And unfortunately, because the standard hasn't legitimately been set, because there are some of us within the community who are trying to establish that standard, and that goes across all mediums, not just in the wedding planning category. But I think that if you are approaching somebody that you would like to hire services for your wedding and they cannot provide you with a detailed invoice of what they are giving, they do not have reputable reviews somewhere, whether that be Google or a Facebook page, if they don't have an active Instagram account, like you really need to do some sleuthing and make sure that the people that you are hiring are legit, because otherwise you are going to lose
And I do want to say, new is not a bad thing either.
Agreed.
Because sometimes people don't have reviews because they're new.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But usually they're priced accordingly. Mm-hmm. And that's something they're very open about when communicating with you. Like, I'm new. This is what I did. This is what I've done. So you might have a discount on that regard because of the fact they're getting their foot in the door.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you're discussing that with them.
Yes.
And you have certain parameters in place. Maybe you communicate a little bit more often. Maybe there's certain things where you have to ask a little bit more questions and they have to ask a little bit more questions as well too. So new isn't a bad thing, but again, it's about transparency. So you need to make sure that when you are talking with any vendor, and even vendor to vendor, when you're talking to each other, to spot it for your client, you have to make sure that they're able to give you the breakdown that they need.
Yes.
They're able to communicate and tell you like, hey, I have this amount of experience, or I'm very new and I'm learning this, but this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. Like, new doesn't mean that you lack responsibility and onus to give a breakdown of things.
And this can also be taken into like a different context as well. So I mentioned earlier that like we upcharge for certain things that are past our normal setup and strike. So something like a backdrop. So even just like this past month, we're in July, I actually did something that I've never done before. And I had a client who wanted to cover a wall. Well, specifically, she wanted to cover a janky ass looking door. So I was like, hey, no problem. Let's put up a backdrop. So that took into consideration of, okay, how much am I going to charge her to put this backdrop up? Well, how long is it going to take me to put this backdrop up? And then the time that it also took to plan out the backdrop, because she thought she was going to get something like this.
I know.
Okay. She thought she was going to get some drapery and it was going to look great. And then I called Cameron at Special Event Rentals and I was like, look, I need to build a wall. And this is what I'm thinking. And this is what I want to do. And this is something else that goes back to vendor relations and don't piss off people within the industry, because Cameron and I had a wicked back and forth and it was over email. I was like, I need to build a wall and this is what I think I want to do. What do I need for that? And because I had never built one before, this was new. And I did tell the client, like, look, I can totally put up a backdrop, but actually, can I build you a wall instead? And she was like, oh my God, yes. Right? Like, no way she's saying no. Right?
Yes,
and
please.
so, but like the extra time that it took to put into that, and like talking with more experienced planners than myself, who gave me like, okay, well, this is the trick that you're going to do to make this texture. And this is what you're going to do to make this texture. And that wasn't even actually putting the thing up.
Yeah. That
Like
was just
making the wall probably took about 45 minutes to an hour. And we did have a little bit of a background photo, everything, right? But like, I think those are things that we also need to be transparent about. Like, why are we charging you extra for this? And this is something that I know that you do this as well with your specific clients. These are conversations that we have. Like, if I'm going to add something onto your invoice, I am going to tell you X, Y, Z of exactly why it is priced, the way it is
1000%.
priced. And before I do anything that has to do with this, you are going to sign off on that. Yep. You're not going to get an unexpected bill from me. You are not going to get a random invoice from me. You're going to know exactly why this is coming and why it's priced the way that it is. And you are going to have given me the approval before I've even gotten started on planning or dreaming up this thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that that's something else that needs to be more acceptable within the industry, that like, if somebody wants something above and beyond what they've already paid for, sure, let's do it. However,
There is a charge.
There is going to be a charge. And this is why. And it's not saying that I don't want to do it or I can't do it or no, sorry. Like, it's 100% I'm here. But this is above and beyond what we've already talked about.
Okay. I got the 10-minute warning.
Damn it.
Just the way it happened, it grabbed my attention.
Yes.
But yes, you're right. I know my response was a little weird there. That's why. Anyways, no, I 1000% agree. And I think that also comes from experience as well too, and not being afraid to tell your clients that there's a certain charge
shit for free that I shouldn't have.
But I think that's also too, like, we're in the moment, and like for us that's boundaries as well too, right? And ultimately, like nobody
an entire venue.
Yeah, that was
like
me. Yeah. No sleep all weekend. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's
and
okay.
then talking to the venue about it afterwards, and then they're like, "Sorry, that's your problem, not mine."
Right? It's like we didn't clean our space. Anyways, that's one of those you can DM us about. Yeah. Anyways, no, I completely agree, because there's definitely been times when it's like I find myself going above and beyond.
Totally.
And that's because I want to make the couple happy, and I know it's just that little extra thing, and I don't mind doing it. And it's not to say that's a standard, but like sometimes when you love what you do and you want to see the end result just look amazing, and you know it's not going to take extra, they're not asking for you to do it for free, they're not entitled.
Agree.
When someone is not doesn't act entitled to your fucking time, energy, like fuck that. Like you'll get what you pay for, but like
I'm gonna give you more.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you more because you're a good fucking human being, and like I just want you to have that.
Well, and 9 times out of 10, you've also fallen in love with this couple, right?
Time,
you're like, oh my God, this is happening, and now I'm gonna do this, and this has to be fixed, and then later on you look at it and you're like, holy shit.
You're like, okay.
But it's okay. Yeah. And I think like that comes down to, like you said, that comes down to boundaries. Like, what is a boundary for you? What are you willing to do for free?
Yeah, but that's also why I price the way I do.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm also going to go above and beyond. I've literally factored that into everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I know that if you haven't hired me for design and decor, if you ask me something, or if you're like, hey, I'm going to go over to River City, do you want to pop over? If I'm free, I'm fucking there.
Yes. I want to design your table with you.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And it's not to say, like, I'll do it for everyone, but, like, if I have the time and I can swing it, like, I'll try and be there because I genuinely want to be able to do that. I know there's going to be things on your wedding day as well, too, that maybe you didn't pay me to fix or adjust. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, it's not done right, back in the box it goes.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to fix it. I'm going to try and make it look beautiful for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work with what we got.
Yeah.
Why? Because, like, I want this to be successful for you. I genuinely want that. So I think that comes into account, because when you're hiring planners that are doing, or coordinators that are doing too much for too little, now they don't even if they love what they do, they don't have the resource, the like mental resource, emotional, like physical, or the actual body state. They don't have that.
Yeah.
Because they're at their limit. So like I make sure I always have something on reserve for my clients. But going back to what we were saying about telling people this is the price.
Yeah.
This can also be telling people no, or that you can't do certain things, or certain things are not included. I just signed a client.
My scope.
Exactly. Yeah. I just signed a client, and some people would be afraid to tell them. And she reached out to me saying, I noticed in the contract, because my contracts and Sheena's, like, she knows
they're
this.
a little bit different.
Yeah. And they're lengthy. And they're detailed, though, and that's not to protect ourselves, but to make sure it's well, not just to protect ourselves, right? But it's to make sure full transparency for the client. Yeah. Because we could have clauses in there that just protect us, but we have things that are written in there that the client knows they have protection as well, that they know it's fair, like what you were just talking about with, we're not going to do anything until you sign off on it before we charge you for it. Yeah. That's in the contract. Like, until we get your written agreement to it, like, we're going to shoot you a quick text. Like, I'll talk to you on the phone. Okay, let me shoot you a quick text. Say it's okay. Get the thumbs up, we're good to go. But telling your clients no. I had a client that said to me, hey, I noticed in the contract, in the invoice, it says that you're there for minimum 10 hours. I remember
you telling me about this. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was saying, like, can you be there for the whole day? And I told her, I'm like, honestly, there's no need for me to be there the whole day. I said, honestly, no. I'm like, because there's no need for me to be there. And I know there would have been a time where I might have been afraid to be like, oh my God, what if she doesn't want to sign now? And I was like, no, I just explained it. I can be there the whole day. but then my prices will eventually go up and I will have to charge you accordingly for that. And I'm literally doing fucking nothing to be on site.
Just sitting there.
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
And mind you, when I open my eyes on your wedding day, I'm still coordinating shit from home.
Oh, 100%.
It just means that I'm going to be on site. Like, I have a minimum 10 hours. I know I'm probably there longer. Boundaries, I know. But I have a minimum 10 hours that I guarantee I'm going to be on site.
Yeah.
And that's because I know there's going to be times maybe I have to run and do something in the morning for you. Maybe I have to meet you somewhere else. Maybe like I need to factor in, okay, I need to be there at noon to stay until 10 or 1 o'clock to stay until 11, or I might just stay later because we need to figure out your late night lunch. We were just talking about this. So ultimately it comes down to, it's okay to tell the client you don't do something because it'll cost them more or it's not in your scope or whatever it is. And usually they understand.
Yeah.
As long as you are fully transparent.
Yeah.
If you beat around the bush, you're like humming and humming, they don't know. They don't know what they need and what they don't need.
Yeah.
Right? So with that, I just want to say it's okay to price what you price. It's okay to tell clients yes. It's okay to tell them no. But make sure, going back to what we said before, you're staying in your lane.
Yeah.
If you're going to charge less, don't say like, okay, like I can do luxury styled weddings when you know you're not priced for that. That means you're not going to have the means for it.
Yeah.
Unless you got like Mother Teresa and all the nuns in the congregation
work
coming out
for
to help
free.
you for free, you're not going to have the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
Like even just paying minimum wage to people, it just won't be
Well, and that's
attainable.
the other thing too, and this is the last thing that like we'll say because we gotta shut her down. But I think that the other thing to take into account with pricing is people who are priced a little bit more often come with a team.
That's what it is.
Like they often come with a team. You're coming with an assistant or maybe more depending on your guest count. Also, guest count can drastically change the price of your wedding, just putting that out there. But like I think that's something else to take into consideration. It's not a one-person team.
Yeah.
And you need to be paying for the all of the services that are being provided and all of the labor that is being provided. So pay your vendors accordingly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I guess with that, I do want to talk about what you just mentioned, how your guest count can drastically affect your pricing. That doesn't just go for us. It goes for other vendors too. So on another episode, because if you're going to have like an elopement style wedding and then it changes right after, you're not going to be priced the same.
Yeah.
It's not
I think
the
we need
same
to,
thing.
I know we weren't going to be like, oh, this is like how you plan your wedding podcast, but I do think we need to like, we should break down a budget.
Like, I mean,
And that could be like a whole episode, but I just think that that's important because we didn't talk about catering in terms of pricing and like how you shouldn't be paying $16 a plate.
Oh my God, yeah. I think,
anyways,
yeah, I think that we can go on and on. We'll definitely have some more talks, not about how to plan, but like kind of like get your head out of your arse episodes. Let's be honest. Like, come the fuck on. Right? Anyways, with that, we're going to get the fuck out of here, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, share all the things at Not Another Wedding Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us again. Can't wait for the next episode. Bye.